Welcome to iDramas. My name's Denovan and I'm super excited to have you here. In this segment, we're going to be talking to you about CBD, how it works and how to use it. You can find these slides on the CBD therapy page of our website. We will be adding to that, so it might be broken down into different categories at some point, but you will find the slides somewhere there. And at the moment, they're there just under the CBD therapy page. Now, you'll also find some videos amongst those slides that you can watch at your leisure that go into more detail in terms of the history, the science, etc., and the propaganda behind the cannabis prohibition, which we're now seeing the end of. So let's get right into it. First of all, we'll just discuss the differences between hemp and marijuana, because a lot of people get confused between the two. So hemp and marijuana are both part of the cannabis family of plants, but they've been bundled incorrectly as being one. So people often think that hemp is something that can get you high, which it can't. Hemp has actually been used forever for fabrics, fibres, materials, and also as medicine. And it's got very high concentrations of a compound that's called CBD, which is obviously what we're now hearing everybody talking about, really. CBD's got incredible health benefits. It can actually be used to treat things including psychosis, bipolar, depression, anxiety. And there's an extensive amount of science that's been done on it for over 50 years now, pretty much. So in hemp, you cannot get high from it. And we're here to get healthy, we're not here to get high. But in these plants together, there are about 100 other compounds, right, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail in just a minute. But in hemp, there's a very small amount of THC. Now, THC is the molecule that actually gets you high, that's recognized to be a drug that is addictive, that can cause cannabis psychosis in young, growing adolescents that start to try smoking marijuana, which is where obviously the concern is. And so it's important you understand that even if people try to smoke hemp, they wouldn't get high from it, they would get benefits from it. We don't encourage anybody to smoke because obviously that's bad for your immune system. You're putting toxins into your body through smoking. We're here to get healthy. We're here to educate. But marijuana on the other side does look quite different from hemp, although they look similar in some respects. It grows to about 6 feet tall. It's very thick and bushy. It's got very high concentrations of THC, the molecule that gets you high, that is addictive, that is the potential risk. But it's got very small amounts of the CBD molecule in there. So when people tell me, oh, well, I smoke marijuana, so I don't need to take CBD oil, actually, you're not getting very much CBD from your marijuana, and also you're putting toxins in your body through smoking marijuana, which you need to obviously really combat and protect yourself against those toxins. And one of the best ways to do that is by taking a really high quality CBD oil. So now you know the kind of differences between those two. What are cannabinoids exactly? Well, cannabinoids are special compounds that are found in the cannabis family of plants. There's at least 80 to 104 known cannabinoids. There's actually nearly 400 other compounds that are found in cannabis that are found in all plants, like chlorophyll, terpenes, flavonoids, and plant waxes. And these flavonoids and terpenes are actually what gives the plant its smell and its taste, its flavor. They're essentially essential oils, and essential oils, as some people know, are very powerful therapeutically in lots of respects. So you're not just getting the benefit when you take an oil that's a full spectrum oil of CBD, you're getting the full spectrum of these other cannabinoids and often these other essential oils, flavonoids and terpenes. So you will find that there's cannabinoids that are found in, or cannabinoid-like compounds that are found in other plants, like echinacea, flax, common tea, kava, and hops, but they're in such minute amounts that really the therapeutic benefit versus how much benefit you get from cannabinoids, CBD, and the others found in the hemp plant, obviously they're non-existent really because they're in such minute amounts, but you do get some benefit from those, which is why a balanced diet is really, really important of all of these great things, right? Now, the mechanism in the body that is what CBD and these other compounds is interacting with is actually scientifically now known and understood to be the endogenous cannabinoid system. The endogenous cannabinoid system is internal, that's what endogenous means. And essentially it's made up of these CB1 and CB2 receptors, which are, the CB1 receptors are through the brain and central nervous system, and the CB2 receptors are really regulating and maintaining the immune system. Now, this endogenous cannabinoid system is the largest self-regulating system that we have in the body. It's not just a system, it's the largest. The receptors that we've got so many of these receptors, these cannabinoid receptors as they're called, that we've got more of those receptors than all of the other receptors that we have in our body combined from all of the other systems. So it's absolutely enormous, and why it's such a critical part of our body, our infrastructure. Now, this endogenous cannabinoid system, it regulates everything. It regulates sleep, mood, appetite, blood pressure, hormone production, metabolism, even your blood sugar levels. So again, talking a little bit about the benefits, but by regulating your blood sugar levels, etc., you can actually reduce your risk of diabetes significantly by taking CBD oil. Now, this whole system, its activation, it influences something called homeostasis. A lot of people don't understand what that is, but it's essentially the harmony and balance of all bodily functions. So when you're in homeostasis, your body's functioning properly and you're feeling great and you're feeling good all the time. Now, the CB1 receptors, as I said, they're obviously in the brain and central nervous system. This is what the THC is activating very much so, in more of a sort of a higher ratio than the CBD. These receptors, they begin to form, this system in our body begins to form as early as the 16th day of gestation. So it's actually regarded as being critical to the early development of children. And, the internal cannabinoids that are created in our body are binding with these receptors. So we've got receptors because we actually create molecules in our body, which are called endogenous cannabinoids, are natural molecules that, bind with those receptors and activate the system and bring us into homeostasis and regulate the body. So now it's been discovered that actually we can have an imbalance in our endogenous cannabinoids, and this is called chronic endogenous cannabinoid deficiency syndrome. And so things like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue, they found internal endogenous markers in those people being low. Their endogenous cannabinoid markers are low, and that's why they've got these symptoms. So what we're finding is that these plant-based cannabinoids, which are called phytocannabinoids, mimic our endogenous cannabinoid. They fit perfectly, these molecules. They target the receptors in our body and they bind with them and they switch them on, they activate them, they regulate the system. And so that can then bring us into homeostasis, so we can calibrate our bodies with the supplementation of these cannabinoids. This guy is Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. He's been studying cannabis for over 50 years, funded by the American government for millions of dollars. He's the guy that actually identified THC in 1964 as being the compound that was psychotropic that got you high. And this is because obviously the prohibition of cannabis happened in the 30s, but before that it was used widely, cannabis, for medicine. And so they wanted to understand this high effect that it was having. Anyway, so he understood that, he identified that, and then in the 1990s, 92, he found the first endogenous cannabinoid, which was called anandamide. And anandamide comes from the Sanskrit word ananda, which means bliss. Because when you eat chocolate or you get a sense of mild pleasure, that is actually from your endogenous cannabinoids in your body that are being created through your eating of that chocolate. And what happens is it passes up through the blood-brain barrier and it releases endorphins because it's regulating hormone production, and you get this feeling of pleasure. And so that's down to our endogenous cannabinoid. Right? 1995, he discovers a second endogenous cannabinoid. And so, again, the science has now been going on from there and being very, very extensive. Now, you can actually watch a video of his because it's about an hour long, but it's very, very detailed and very interesting because he talks about the trials that they've done, how it should be used widely, should have been used a long time ago because he's been studying this for a long time. The evidence was so strong, it is literally criminal that they haven't been promoting and publicising this more. So a very interesting documentary if you want to watch that. This is Dr. David Allen, who's a retired cardiac surgeon. He's also a member of the International Cannabis Research Society. And he said that the discovery of the endocannabinoid system is the single most important medical scientific discovery ever and will save more lives than the discovery and application of sterile surgical technique, which is an absolutely massive statement coming from a cardiac surgeon or an ex-cardiac surgeon. Now, why has he come across this and gone into this? Well, he's discovered and read the patent, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. But again, you can watch what he says and what other doctors are saying in America about CBD. And this is where, in this video, he makes that statement that it's going to be the most vital discovery ever. Now, the reason why he sort of got into this was because he came across this US government patent, which says cannabinoids, or its title, cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants, awarded in 2003. It's useful to treat a wide range of oxidative-related conditions such as ischemic, age-related, and anti-inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. So that includes like strokes as well. And by regulating blood pressure and your all this blood sugar level and everything else, and being very good for the cardiovascular side of things, this is what he recognised because it's a very detailed pattern. He recognised and understood the mechanisms, obviously, of on that side of things and thought, how is this not being publicized, and why are they not doing more trials on this now, immediately? It's like, should be done. Essentially, people can prevent these diseases, a lot of these diseases, by actually using this as a nutrient. It's a vital nutrient. It says here in the patent itself, in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is CTE, and that's from repetitive concussions and brain injury. So a lot of American football players have CTE. It's a neuroprotectant. It's very useful to be used during your life, whilst you're having concussions and after, to continuously protect the brain, because it actually turns out it reproduces brain cells. And so this is the CEO of Canon Life Sciences that talks about that and talks about the patent. And so again, you can watch that video as well. It's about 10 minutes long. There's also a scientist that talks about, cannabis, that was dead against cannabis because of the THC, but then he discovered about CBD and couldn't believe it. And now he's just, completely sold by CBD and obviously the health benefits. Again, this is another video that you can watch if you want to, that talks about Alzheimer's, or people that have started to, give CBD to their family members that have Alzheimer's and found it very beneficial. So again, you can watch that. Now, this is a bit of an old video, so it does sort of say, oh, it was illegal in certain states at the time just to take CBD, which is not now. It's legal throughout the states. In Canada, it's legal in the UK and Europe. But anyway, interesting information when you can actually see people who have given this to their family members with those conditions. So it's criminal, really, that people aren't hearing about this, because, when you've got a condition like Alzheimer's, then the outlook is bleak, right? But here we can actually improve their quality of life, actually extend their quality of life. If you catch it early on, it really can make a significant difference. And then I've learned actually with Alzheimer's, there's lots of other things that you can do to remove toxicity from your body and reduce inflammation to actually really combat Alzheimer's if you catch it early. Now, again, like I say, the science is extensive. There's lots of independent studies, over something like 1,200 peer-reviewed studies that you can find on CBD specifically, but on cannabis research generally, there's a lot. And this website here, which is Echo Connection, you can actually go to this site, and there's a lot of independent studies under all of these different categories of conditions that you can click on and just read through the studies if you want to. If you've got certain conditions, you might want to look into that personally for your own benefit. Nice to have it all in one place, but you can also just do the study quite easily by putting in your condition into Google and CBD and independent research, and it will come up. Now, there's a massive backstory and massive history of hemp. Just some of the basics here. Industrial hemp has been grown in Europe and in the US since the first European settlers arrived in the 1600s, obviously used widely for textiles and fabrics. It was actually law for certain farmers to grow hemp in certain parts of the States, and in Europe you could get fined as a farmer if you didn't grow it, because they needed the material for the sail ships, for their sails and for the ropes, etc. The war 1812 was fought over the hemp trade because it was so key, right? At one time, it was actually believed that 80% of the paper of the world was going to be made from hemp, because it's so much more sustainable growing hemp, which grows in 3 or 4 cycles per year, and you can produce like literally 1 acre of hemp can produce 10 times the amount of paper that an acre of trees can. And of course, trees take a long time to grow. So there's several presidents, in fact, in the United States that grew hemp and advocated for commercial hemp production. And Henry Ford grew hemp, and he threatened the fossil fuel industry with the supply of ethanol-derived hemp biofuel. In the Midwest, he was supplying up to 25% of that Midwest area with ethanol-derived hemp. So it's believed that's the real reason behind the prohibition of alcohol, not because they wanted people to stop drinking alcohol, but they wanted to stop Henry Ford from, attacking their market interests there. So in the 1800s and the 1900s, very interestingly, 90% of all medicine derived from hemp, 90% of it. And so what happened, obviously, is that these tycoons, industrial tycoons like Hearst, who was involved with all the newspapers and had lots of trees, which he was using for his paper business. You had other people, including Standard Oil, obviously wanted to shut down. They all got together and they lobbied to have cannabis, classed as a Schedule 1 drug, which would render it sort of non-medicinal, highly addictive, deadly in the same category as heroin. So absolutely ridiculous, but it was demonized. There was a massive propaganda campaign. And so again, you can learn more about that in your own time if you want, but this is quite an interesting short video where a guy talks about the escalation of the prohibition of alcohol and Standard Oil and Henry Ford's involvement in that, or how it was because of him they wanted to stop it largely. Now, how much daily CBD is recommended? Well, the recommended daily guideline for a healthy person is 50 milligrams. I take now about 50 milligrams per day, but I was taking at the beginning, when I first started taking it, when I discovered the power of it, I was taking about 100 to 120 milligrams, which I did for about 3 to 6 months. And then I reduced it down to about 80 milligrams and then did that for about another 6 months. And then we went down to about 50 milligrams per day. Now, the reason why I was taking more was because I had chronic pain from a car accident, which was giving me problems for over a decade and really disrupting my sleep. And so I was, looking to actually tackle some severe inflammation in my body. If you're healthy, you don't have any symptoms, and 50 milligrams for most people is fine. If you're a big person and an older person, you might need to take more if you've got actual chronic pain and discomfort. So large American football players will take 200 to 300 milligrams per day if you've got cancer. Now, I wouldn't suggest that you take CBD as an alternative to chemo, although some people have gone down that route and some people have had results and they've survived and they're survivors. There's a lot that comes down to obviously cancer and the cause of cancer, which is to do with very many toxins in your body and environment and stresses and all the rest of it. So again, depending on how early you catch it, there's all kinds of challenges there. But CBD is amazing for supporting anybody that's on chemotherapy because it helps with nausea, it helps with the side effects, and it helps just relax you, helps you get really good sleep. And that was the first thing I noticed, was my sleep improved within 24 hours quite noticeably. And then after a week, I was getting literally double the sleep I was getting before that, deep sleep. But yeah, somebody with cancer would need to take really 300 milligrams a day. That would be the recommended amount. We know this because actually the leading researchers that I've had the pleasure to meet, scientists in this field, I've talked at length and I've studied and followed their work very closely. And so that's just what they recommend. But for anybody that's naturally sort of, well, not feeling any inflammation, having any symptoms, 50 milligrams is generally quite a good amount. If you're a child or you're younger or smaller, then you can get away with perhaps 25 milligrams or 30 milligrams. The idea is you want to be taking enough that your body absorbs the nutrition, because depending on how you take it, most people take it as an oil under the tongue. And that's the best way to get the most active amount of CBD in your system, in the sense that when you take it under your tongue, you absorb more than if you swallow it directly, because you break down cannabinoids in your digestive tract when you swallow it all in one go. So you get more absorbency under the tongue when you hold it there for a couple of minutes. And you get about 30% more absorbency, so it's more bioavailable to you. Essentially, it will be active in your body for about between 4 and 6 hours. You can see that from people that have had Parkinson's, where they've got really bad shakes, and then they take it and it gives them a good sort of 5 to 6 hours of relief from those side effects they're having, or symptoms they're having. Now, if you're vaping it, which some people do, you'll get normally more of a noticeable instantaneous kind of benefit from taking it, which some people have found in terms for some pain, but it doesn't give you relief continuously for as long. It's only active maybe for half an hour or so, or an hour. But yeah, so under the tongue in capsules is just an easier way to take it. We've actually got coffee with CBD in it, so it's a great way to have it with coffee. And the good thing is about one of our, our products, a number of our products in the CBD range, is that it's got a special technology which is basically making it more water soluble, and it protects the efficacy of the cannabinoid, so you get a higher absorbency, so it's got a higher bioavailability, and that's really, really key. It means that you get more of the CBD for your pound or your dollar or your euro, because a lot of these things, like I say, with oils, our body's made up of water. So if it's hydrophilic, it likes water, it binds with water better, you're going to get more of a bioavailability with it. Now, how much you take to start with, is down to you. Some people start with a small amount and they work up. So they might start with 10, 20 milligrams a day, working up to 50 milligrams, or they might start with 50 milligrams straight away. Some people, if they've got a problem, they might just go straight in with 100 or 150 milligrams a day. You can take, like I say, 200, 300 milligrams comfortably. Most people have zero side effects. There are some people that can have a bad reaction with CBD, because there are some people that have a bad reaction to vitamin A or vitamin C. So essentially with CBD, some people might not be able to tolerate it, but that's very, very low percentage, and the majority can. How long you take CBD for also will be relevant to how much of a result you get, and how that improves your bodily function. Bringing yourself into homeostasis doesn't necessarily happen overnight. In fact, mostly it doesn't. Most people have to take it for a period of time. You might get some noticeable benefit depending on their problem fairly quickly, within 24 hours or a week or a couple of weeks. But some people have to take quite a reasonable amount for a month or 2 months before they notice a considerable difference. And so that's why American football players that are very big guys that have had lots of brain trauma from repeated concussions and other injuries, they go straight in with 200, 300 milligrams a day. So, but that's completely safe, but they can afford 200 to 300 milligrams a day. We want to help you be able to afford 200 to 300 milligrams a day if you want it, but, be able to help you be able to afford all of the products that we've got, not just CBD products. We've got lots of other amazing products as well. And so this is partly what iDramas is about, is helping you get access to wholesale pricing of these products, which you get, so they're very affordable anyway, but then be able to get them cheaper just as a customer. You're just participating in a system that we're putting you into, where you're just participating, being a customer regularly will allow you to get cheaper products month after month, and then free products, and then just as a customer you'll even start to generate money. And this is the automatic system that comes with iDramas. Anyway, I'm deviating a little bit from the presentation. That's just to cover that base with you very quickly. Now, hemp. There's 50,000 uses and benefits of hemp. It's an amazing plant. It's been used for all different kinds of things, building materials, hemp seed. Just to go back to why this is such a vital nutrition that we're not getting now, which we used to get back in the day when it was grown abundantly. It was like literally a staple crop, and they had so much hemp seed that lots of the livestock were feeding either off the hemp directly growing in the fields, or they were fed on hemp seed. And so they were actually getting these cannabinoids in these animals, the livestock, but getting the cannabinoids, and they store the cannabinoids in their fat cells. Of course, we would then eat the animals and we would get the cannabinoids that way. And so this is how it was something that our ancestors used to get in the diet that we're no longer getting, and it's contributing to many of the illnesses that we're seeing today. Now, the importance of the quality of the oil is that, like I say, hemp has got many, many uses. It's actually a bioaccumulator, so it's so effective at removing contaminants from the air and soil that hemp plants were shown to be effective in cleaning the soil around the sites of the Russia's Chernobyl nuclear disaster, and were even considered for the use near the Fukushima disaster. So it can clear radiation, right? It's very effective at drawing basically from soil and air heavy metals, which you should probably, I should hope, know that heavy metals generally are bad for you, right? And so obviously we get those from industrial waste and pollution and all the rest of it. And they find their way into the water supply, the food supply, but actually hemp is used to often, cleanse the soil in between harvests of other crops, because it replenishes the soil so effectively. And so it really is very good at drawing these out from the soil. So it's really important that you have like organic oil and that it's responsibly farmed and that it's tested. So in 2018 as well, they actually did a test on the products, the CBD oil products out there, because they're sold widely on health stores, Boots here in the UK, and various other health stores across the country sell it. But obviously online, people are saying it. People are growing hemp, in their gardens and extracting it. It's like a real minefield out there. And they found that 37 out of 41 products tested had, hardly any CBD oil in there, nothing like what it was quoting on the label. So often on the label it would say 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams. And that is important information if you're wanting to actually dose, right? You need to know how much is 50 milligrams, whatever. But most of these products didn't even have anything like the CBD they had in the bottle. And even worse, a lot of them had contaminants in there. They had things like the heavy metals in there, and salmonella and E. coli, which is actually like can kill you. So always ensure that the company from which you buy products, whoever that might be, always has third-party lab test certificates. These lab test certificates that actually prove exactly what's in the oil. So you can say, and this is an example of the certificates that our products actually have, which are very, very detailed from a third party. It's not from them, it's from a third party. And it confirms the percentage of the CBD in the bottle, the parts per million, etc. And all of the different cannabinoids and the percentages that they've got in there. And so you can see exactly what's in the bottle, okay? You also see the terpenes, like that we were talking about, because they actually have, again, a synergistic and entourage effect, having all of these cannabinoids in a full spectrum oil, which is this certificate we're looking at is for one of their full spectrum oils. All of these terpenes and flavonoids are also very therapeutic, and so we've got some percentage of those shown there. We also have, again, detail here talking about the tests of all of the different pesticides that are used and the results per million. So obviously it needs to have, no detection there, which obviously you can see in our products. So this is really important. And this is information that most people don't even check for when they're buying an oil. They just assume, oh, it's okay, it's safe. But, often they're not. And you're putting toxins in your body that's going to actually do more harm than good ultimately. Okay, so again, here, the residual solvents. Now, this is to do with, a lot of products out there actually, they're extracting the oil from the plants and they're using solvents in the process of extraction. So with our products, we use something called supercritical CO2 extraction. So using carbon dioxide as a way to extract it. It's the cleanest and the most expensive way to extract the oil from the plant. So again, when you're looking at prices of product, you will always find cheap products out there. Why? Because often the product doesn't have anything like what it's saying on the bottle in terms of the quantity of CBD, but also they're using the cheapest measures to obviously, extract the, CBD from it. And they're not testing it. All of these things cost money. And of course, they're not also offering you an opportunity to get your product for free and to actually help people get their product for free and help you get paid money from just taking the product, which is what we're doing with Hydrons. So again, we've got the other things that are confirming, levels of mercury, arsenic, lead, which obviously are really bad toxins that you do not want in there. Of course, you're always going to get some levels. It's what is a safe amount because obviously these things are everywhere. You can't get away from them. But it's what are the safe levels. And the great thing is about CBD as well is it is an antioxidant. It's removing toxins from the body. And so, again, you are taking something that, although you might have some of these things in there, is actually going to help you naturally remove some of these things. It's just if you've got way too much in there that you've got to be worried about. Okay, so this is just saying the right place at the right time, because if you're interested in an opportunity in a business, of course, we're talking about customers being able to make money in this automatically just by participating with what we're doing as a customer in our system, where we put you into somebody's team and then we put people into your team so you can get your product for free through a kind of networking model. This is a booming industry. It's just emerging in many countries. It hasn't even, market hasn't opened up yet, but it will do. And this company that we buy products from are already in 20 countries across Europe and the US and Canada, and they're going to be going global. So again, it's an amazing time to actually get involved in the business. And we've obviously got a great platform to help people launch the business with 12 steps to get started. So it's really, really simple. And this is just to talk about, or it's just an example of one of the studies that you can look at, which talks about the power of CBD, how critical it is for our health. And I just pulled this up just to sort of share with you, because it says here, modulation of the oxidative stress and lipid peroxidization by endocannabinoids and their lipid analogs. Well, that didn't really mean too much to me, but just reading this, you don't have to be a scientist to understand this. And it says here, growing evidence supports the pivotal role played by oxidative stress in tissue injury development. And remember, I was saying CBD is a very powerful antioxidant, thus resulting in several pathologies, including cardiovascular, renal, and neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative disorders. So obviously those disorders being like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. And then it says here, the endocannabinoid system, ECS, and redox homeostasis impairment appears to be crucial. So it's the impairment in the homeostasis of our body, which is obviously manipulated by our endocannabinoid system, that is crucial in terms of treating and preventing these conditions, ultimately. And so obviously we can manipulate our own endocannabinoid system, regulating it properly through the use of high quality cannabinoids. And so that's it. I've reached the end of the presentation. You can have a look, obviously, at these videos, like I say, which are here, which are very interesting if you want to take a look. The actual products we obviously want to share with you. What we would need to do is go through a process of actually sharing with you our partnership with the company, take you online, showing you how simple it is to set up yourself as a customer. You automatically get your access to your own back office, so you can order products directly at wholesale pricing. And then also you get your links. So we use your links when we're placing you into other people's teams. And then we actually will place people with your links into your team. And that's how we're going to help you get your products cheaper and then free. And of course, if you're helping us by introducing what we're doing to people that you know, because it's just a great system that we've got here and the best products, and we're helping everybody improve their health, of course, that's going to improve the speed at which you're getting your product free, and then the speed at which you're making money. And of course, if you take it really seriously and you want to actually really plug this and you introduce this to many people and you build a team with us, then that's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. We've got a huge opportunity. I mean, just to quickly share with you, I mean, some people will say, well, what's worked with us? Well, we're actually just getting started here. Literally, I've just produced this website very early on in sort of February of 2021. So we're just getting started. So I'm now getting my first sort of mastermind group of people together. And what I need to do is just help a few people obviously see what we're doing, see the idea, the concept, what the plan is. But then we're actually going to be getting some people to join us who are going to be active promoters, not promoters like many people, but who will just introduce us to a few friends and family and what have you, but people that will actually go door to door who are promoters that are needing work, they need a job. But they're going to sign up as members into our iDramas platform, and then they're going to be signing people up as customers into your team and into their team and into their team, but also into their own team. So they're obviously making money that way, and it's just an automatic system. That's how it works. So this kind of explains that to a certain degree. I'm not asking you to go door to door. Don't get that wrong. You can just become a customer. You can just choose not to get involved with this at all, and obviously just step away from the platform and never look at it again. But the whole point of this is to educate people and help us come together and actually help create more income for people so that we can boost the economy and we can actually support people and help them improve their health, physical, mental, spiritual, financial, and just make the world a better place. That's what we're really hoping to do. So thank you very much for your time. That sums up the presentation for today. I hope I'll see you on the other side. Have a great day.